like sports? Do you like beer? Do you love sports and beer? Then you're exactly where you need to be. This is the Huebs, Views, and Brews show on 1252 Sports Chicago. Cheers.
Welcome on in, Huebs, Views, and Brews from Monday night, and we're down to the final two in the NFL. More on that in a second. We're brought to you by, as always, the Whistle Sports Bar and Grill 159 out in Tinley Park. Great place. They got a lot of plans coming up for the Super Bowl. Make sure you check it out. Should be a great time with a couple of so-so teams, and they're good, I guess. They both won their championship games. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Fat Mike's going to join me in a sec. We got a lot of things to talk about. We'll talk about both of yesterday's games. We'll get some beer stuff a little bit later on in the show. Bunch of anniversaries over the weekend. I went to one of them, and we'll discuss that. Actually, we can discuss that right now because it is Huebs, Views, and Brews. As I bent down here to get this beer, and I get the glass to pour it in so you can see how it looks. This Noon Whistle had their anniversary over the weekend, and I stopped there on Saturday, and I saw Paul and Mike and the guys from Noon Whistle, and they brewed a beer called the Mana, M-A-N-A Skull, an imperial stout with coconut and vanilla, 10.2 alcohol by volume. And if you're following us or watching this on Twitch or YouTube, you can see the picture, if I can hold it up right. Really, really cool can with a skull and some nice colors. They brewed this, a Mana Skull Imperial Stout, just a plain Imperial Stout. Then they threw in coconut and vanilla. And as I pour this, I'll tell you the story. I was talking to Paul, one of the owners and master brewer there, and he said he wanted to throw more coconut in. And he kept saying, the other guys brewing with him said, no, there's enough coconut in there now. You don't want to pour more in. As I pour this, you can see really nice dark color of an Imperial Stout. So they were tasting it a little bit later on, and they said, you poured more coconut in, didn't you? And he goes, yep. And I told him, I said, you're one of the owners. You're the master brewmaster, okay? So you have that prerogative. You can put more coconut in, and he did. I had one of these. I had one without the coconut. He gave me little samples. I also had a couple others. They had a new gummy that they put out for their anniversary. It was 8th anniversary. I was going to go to Naperville, decided that where I'm at in Lockport, much easier, straight shot, straight up 355 to Roosevelt on over. So I stopped in Lombard, got a 4-pack of this on the way out. 10.2 alcohol by volume. And Noon Whistle does something smart. Now, some people may say, why do you do it that way? Noon Whistle puts a lot of their Imperial Stouts and their barrel-aged in 12-ounce cans, which is perfect because you shouldn't be drinking a 16-ounce can of this. I mean, you can drink multiples, but it's a lot of alcohol, okay? 10.2. I'm in my house. I got a bookcase behind me. I got all pictures. I was just telling Mike before the show started, you got a little picture of Jen Patterson right here. When we worked together at the Score. But the beer's great. It's unbelievable. Get on out there. They've got them in 4-packs. They've got these. They got the gummies, and very, very tasty. We'll get to more of the beer stuff in just a little bit. Take another sip of this. Anybody that has followed me at the Score or ESPN or here on the podcast the last couple of years knows that I'm a 49ers fan. And Mike was over at the house yesterday. My brother Barry was at the house. We were watching the game. Linda made all kind of appetizers. We had all kinds of stuff. Mike made his meatballs. We're sitting down watching the game. And then 7 minutes into the first quarter, Brock Purdy gets tackled and goes out of the game with an elbow injury. And that was the game. That was it. Game was over. He did not come back. There's Mike joining us now. And, Brock Purdy goes out. And they asked Shanahan after the game about having a tight end try to block Hassan Reddick. He said, it's a play action pass. We have our tight ends block the, charging rusher all the time. He's just got to make the block. Well, he didn't. And because of that, Brock Purdy went out. News coming out today that he tore his UCL, his ulnar collateral ligament. He's not going to have Tommy John surgery. He's going to have it repaired instead of reconstructed, and he'll be out 6 months, which is good because guess what, Mike? They don't play football for 6 months.
Right.
Yeah. So he was out, but after he went out, Josh Johnson came in, and he's been with 13 teams. The Niners 3 times. There's a reason he's been with so many teams. He's not very good.
Yeah, he stinks.
Yeah, I think we saw that yesterday. And that was the most disappointing thing. I hear all these people today, and most people today are talking, most of these so-called experts, they're talking about the second game, Burrow against Mahomes and the Bengals against Cincinnati. I'm sorry, the Bengals against Kansas City. But the first game, we didn't get to see what we had hoped to see because with Brock Purdy down, we didn't get a chance to see if the Niners offense could actually beat that Philadelphia defense, because with Josh Johnson, the answer was a definite no.
Right. Yeah, it was a tough game to watch. As soon as Brock Purdy went out, I mean, Brock Purdy carried him, to 8-0, 7-0?
Oh, yeah, they had won 12 games in a row, okay, and he was 8-0, so.
All right, so, I mean, he's been the talk of the town lately, and that was, honestly, I said going into the playoffs, the San Francisco 49ers were the scariest team going into the playoffs because they're good on defense, and they got all the weapons that you could ever ask for them. Brandon Ayuk and Kittle and Deebo Samuel, and it doesn't matter who they have playing quarterback unless it's Josh Johnston.
Yeah, he was not good.
I mean, that kind of proved my point wrong yesterday. Sam Franz and Kyle Shanahan, that is such a dreamboat team that everybody should want to play for. Honestly, at this point, he gets everybody involved. Everybody gets their numbers. And yesterday, when that happened, when Brock Purdy went down with that UCL, it was like, how many quarterbacks can you guys go through in a single year?
Yep.
It was like, oh, my Lord, now you're on your 4th quarterback of the year. You went through Jimmy Garoppolo. You went through the kid that they drafted last year. And now Brock Purdy, and now you're on the Josh Johnson. It was like, oh my goodness.
Well, and these weren't just sprains or hamstrings, okay? Trey Lance with a fractured fibula, Jimmy G with a broken foot, and now we get a torn UCL. Okay, so these are serious quarterback injuries. I'm not sure what the Niners are going to do leading into next year. I'm sure Garoppolo won't be here. It'll probably be Trey Lance and Brock Purdy, and see what happens and how they go from there. But they had serious injuries. The other problem is they could not stop the Philadelphia run game yesterday. This defense played so well all season, could not stop the run game. Philadelphia did a great job running the ball, and I think Philly also, their defense was impressive. They did not allow Deebo Samuel to get the ball, and after Purdy went out, there was no way Ayuk was going to step up his game or Kittle. They tried to hand the ball off a couple times to Deebo Samuel. He had 6 rushes for -9 yards. I mean, it was brutal, and there was no offense there. And then when Purdy had to come back in because Johnson had a concussion, he couldn't throw the ball, and now we understand why, because of the torn UCL. But then they just kept handing off, and they were down at that point. Was it 28-7 or whatever? But so that it's disappointing because you get pumped up. I can only imagine how the people in San Francisco felt this morning. I tried to turn on KNBR radio, the flagship. I think they're still the flagship of the Niners last night, and they already had network on, and that was 8:30 on a Sunday night after a championship game. You would thought that they would have had live programming, but again, nobody ever asked me to program a sports station. So so I said screw it, and I watched. Then I told you right before the show started, I decided to watch Chris Rose and Maurice Jones-Drew on the NFL Game Day Final. Maurice Jones-Drew sucks. He's brutal. I mean, he's very opinionated, but for no apparent reason, just to give his opinions. And I watched for a little while, like 15, 20 minutes last night, and I said, screw this. I'm gonna make sure I have the Good Morning Football recorded. And I went to sleep, and I got up and watched Good Morning Football today just to see what those guys had to say about the Schrager was on a plane because he did the Fox stuff. So he was on a plane, but he was on the same plane with Michael Irvin, and they were like 4 rows from each other, and they kept like standing up. Did you see that? How about that? What about that injury? And it was fun listening to what they thought about the game. But they gave the Eagles a lot of credit for the victory. And it's hard for me to give the Eagles credit for the victory because it wasn't a Niners team. It was, anytime you play a team that doesn't have a quarterback or is using their 4th stringer, you should win the game by a 31-7 count. And that's exactly what Philadelphia did yesterday. So,
well, and Philadelphia has been listen, I'm not taking anything away from Philadelphia. Their defense has been awesome so far this playoff. It has been awesome over the last 5-6 games. They've been getting after the quarterback, and that's what they do. They got a bunch of strong guys up front in that front 4, and then they're backed up with those 3 linebackers. And they have a pretty good secondary with Darius Slay leading the backfield back there. They have a good team. They are a dangerous team. All right, and Jalen Hurts does enough to where he's not going to hurt you. And there's those moments where Jalen Hurts shines. There are those moments. This Philadelphia Eagle team is a special team. As much as I hate the Eagles, and as much as I hate the NFC East, they are a good team. They really are a good team. Okay.
He didn't seem like he did a whole lot offensively yesterday.
He did just enough.
He did just enough to win.
He did just enough.
Yeah, and that's one. Miles Sanders had 2 touchdown runs. It was only 14-7. Niners had the ball right before the end of the second quarter, and Josh Johnson fumbles on a snap, and Boston goes in for a touchdown. It's 21-7 at that point. And at that point, you're saying, okay, they're screwed, and they basically were. They got some bad penalties in the game. Every time they made a stop on defense, they had stopped the Eagles one time. Thought it was a great stop, almost an interception. Then they called a pass interference on Jimmy Ward, not Jimmy Ward, the other Ward. So they called a pass interference on him, and then they forced the Eagles to punt. And then with Jordan Mason, the rookie, he gets a roughing the punter penalty. So everything was bad, and they were one of the not least penalized teams. But yesterday, the Niners got called for 11 penalties for 81 yards. And that was brutal. The last time
it's hard to win a game when you're constantly behind and losing the battle in the trenches.
Yeah. And to be honest, I'm not saying the referees were bad in this one necessarily, because a lot of the penalties, they showed them and they were penalties. Okay. The last time the Niners lost the game was October 23rd. They'd been playing very, very good. I was expecting to see a lot more, but the Eagles, 3 sacks, 3 takeaways, and they held the Niners to 164 yards. And they're not going to have that. They're not going to be that. It's not going to be that easy when they play in the Super Bowl. So I know the Eagles fans are all pumped up. I know that, and you mentioned the NFC East, and I hate the NFC East. I saw some people talking about how the NFC East was the best division in football this year. No, it's just that the NFC East had teams that, you had the Cowboys who tried to step up, but we saw how bad they were when it got late in the postseason. And then we also saw that the Giants, they were okay. They were surprising to a lot of people. They'll be better as they go on. But, I don't know that they were the best team or the best conference in the NFL. But I guess when you look at it, the Niners had Seattle and the Rams. Rams were brutal after winning the Super Bowl last year. And Arizona was bad. So I don't know. It's kind of tough to figure who exactly was the best. I guess the East probably was the best conference, but nothing there scared me. But a lot of people were saying that I saw in the Good Morning Football, they said it might not even have mattered if Brock Purdy played. And I said, what? How can you possibly say that after a guy had won 8 straight games and they'd won 12 in a row and this guy just stepped in? They would have figured something out. They did not. They struggled against Dallas 2 weeks ago. They struggled against Dallas's defense. And then they came out in the second half and turned it up and did what they had to do. So, you figure if it's 14-7, Brock Purdy's in, even if they're down by 14-7 at halftime, they make some adjustments, come out, play better in the second half, move the ball around. Shanahan's that good of an offensive mind. I kind of thought that would happen, but it's disappointing. And then I I want to get to the next game, but I don't want to go too fast to the next game. Philadelphia, you saw that they greased the light posts in Philly because they didn't want the fans to be climbing the poles. So I saw a picture about 2 hours after the game. They were standing on a bus stop, and it was a covered bus stop. And as soon as another person got up there, the entire thing collapsed and they all fell through. Are we supposed to feel sorry for these stupid Philadelphia fans? No.
Oh, they're idiots.
Yes, they are. And I was never a fan. Philadelphia, you were saying yesterday when you were here, not a fan of any team in Philadelphia, starting with the Flyers. No. You got the Flyers.
There are three. I hate every New York sports team besides the Buffalo Bills. And right after those teams, I hate every Philadelphia team. Every one of them. I hate I hate the Flyers more than I hate the Wings. I truly do. I truly do. And hockey, I love hockey, but I hate the Flyers more than any other team ever. Like ever. More than I hate the White Sox, more than I hate the Cardinals. And I don't know why. I hate the Flyers. I hate the Phillies. I hate the Eagles. I do not like those teams.
Yeah, it's hard to hate the Red Wings now because the Blackhawks don't play them nearly as much as they used to.
No, you could say, well, I grew up in the time where the Red Wings were a thing. You know what I mean? I still hate the Red Wings.
One of the other guys that we're watching the game yesterday, and you were hating on you were hating on a guy that was named the Defensive Player of the Year. Explain how you don't like Nick Bosa.
What does he do? He's always hurt. The Bosa boys are always banged up and butt hurt for injury every single time. It's ridiculous. Every single one of those guys are hurt. Whether it be Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, Bobby Bosa, whatever Bosa it is, they're always hurt. Always. Now listen, Nick Bosa, that's the one that's on the Niners, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't understand why everybody thinks he's so good. He plays 7 games a year. How good is he if he plays 7 games a year? And I go as far to say this, and a lot of people sit there and laugh at me, but I say it a lot, and it's the old adage, Fred. What's the best ability?
Availability. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. The San Francisco 49ers have done all this without Joey Bosa for 10 games this year.
Without Nick Bosa.
Yeah, whatever. Without Joey Bosa for 17 games this year. Exactly. Without Nick Bosa for 10 of them. Yeah. All right? I mean, come on, let's get real here. He's not that good.
No.
He's not that good.
He got clipped on the sideline because he was getting ready to go out on the field. And all of a sudden, there was a guy that came flying towards him, and he got hurt then. And then later on in the game, and that's when you jumped up and said, this guy's always hurt. Then later on in the game, he had a shoulder thing, and the trainer was trying to get into his shoulder to rub his shoulder up and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes guys are just too healthy. That's something that you and I never have to worry about.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
That's a thing? He's too healthy? You breathe on him and he pulls a labia?
Yeah, the odds are we're never going to pull an oblique muscle. Because you got to find our
or a labia like Nick Bosa,
or you got to find our obliques before you can actually pull them. We come back.
Hey, I got it.
When we come back, we'll talk about the Cincinnati Kansas City game because I was 0 for 2. I was hoping for a rematch of the other 2 Super Bowls that had the Niners and the Bengals in them. I wanted to see that game. That's not to be. So it'll be Philadelphia taking on Kansas City. We'll talk about the KC and Cincinnati game. In that game, we'll talk about some referees and how the referees screwed up a lot of things in that contest. We'll do that when we come back. We get a lot of sponsors. Again, we're always brought to you by the Whistle Sports Bar and Grill 159 in Tinley Park. They got a lot of stuff going on for the upcoming Super Bowl coming up on February 12th. We'll get to that. Fat Mike joining me here. Huebs, Views, and Brews. Fred Huebner with you. I'll drink the beer. You watch the commercials. We'll be right back talking about the AFC Championship.
Stagecoach in Lockport has a unique menu from fresh salads and burgers to venison and steak sandwiches. We feature plenty of appetizers and desserts for a perfect way to start or end your meal. Come into our country western bar and dining room or relax outside on our patio sitting in the heart of downtown Lockport on State Street. We can accommodate both small gatherings and large parties. Offering 16 different beers on tap, frozen margaritas, an extensive bourbon and whiskey menu, and our famous Bloody Marys. You cannot go wrong at Stagecoach. And if you're feeling lucky, come try DJ Bingo on Tuesdays or our Big Pay slot machines all week. Stagecoach is located at 1028 South State Street in Lockport, Illinois. Everyone is a friend at Stagecoach. Hope to see y'all soon.
Fuzzy football, are you ready, brother? Real football action on a glossy game surface played shuffle style. Slide a shuffle puck at pass or run targets, and a free mobile app keeps track of every game detail. Easy to learn, but this game of skill is difficult to master. Take care of the ball or turnovers will kill your drive. The game is guaranteed to get your competitive fire burning, and it's perfectly sized to take anywhere. The park, a barbecue, your next tailgate, or fun at home on game nights. Fozzy football is simply the best, most realistic and competitive game of football available anywhere. Add defense when your skill improves and take the game to the next level. The perfect mix of fast action and real football drama, where a last-second Hail Mary can break hearts or make champions.
Hello, this is Paul from Nick and Ivy Brewing Company. We are located at 1026 South State Street in historic downtown Lockport, Illinois. We are very excited to be partnering up with the FatMike ChicagoSports Show, as well as the 1252 brand, because we are one of the few Chicagoland breweries that embrace sports and sports culture. Come in for a fresh brewed beer made right here in Lockport while catching the game of your favorite team. Stay for the live music that we have booked every weekend, or just come for a cozy atmosphere to enjoy a good conversation with a friend, loved one, or complete stranger. Nick and Ivy makes you feel right at home no matter what the occasion is. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook by searching for Nick and Ivy Brewing Company. Visit our website for our up-to-date tap list or to go shopping on our online store at nickivybrewing.com. That's Nikivy brewing.com. Come in today for a fresh brewed beer born and raised in Lockport, Illinois.
Welcome back in Huebs, Views, and Brews. Fat Mike joining me here on 1252 Sports as I continue to drink more of this Manna Skull with coconut and vanilla from the guys over at Noon Whistle. And by the way, thanks to Paul Ivnick, who couldn't make it because everyone's getting sick apparently. So he couldn't make it on over to the house yesterday. But he was nice enough, Mike, to set aside a couple of 4-packs for you to pick up. And we had some Mama's Pills. We had some Fat Mike, some Huebner beer, and some 1853. As a matter of fact, when I finish this, if I do finish this during the show, I'm going to drink an 1853 because it's sitting here all set right there. Right down here. Got it right here, the 1853.
There you go.
Vanilla cream ale. So thanks to Paul for that. Hopefully, I told Paul maybe in the spring when everybody's a little bit healthier, we'll do a little thing on the back patio or something like that. So
everybody's dying now, Fred. Everybody's dying.
Yeah, it's well, they actually are. Cindy Williams from Laverne and Shirley passed away today. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
You're not a Laverne and Shirley. You're not of the age of Laverne and Shirley. So
hello, Laverne.
Yeah. So anyway, the Philadelphia Eagles will play the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 57, and that's because the Chiefs got by Cincinnati 23-20. It's the another game between these two teams, between Mahomes and Burrow, that gets decided by 3 points, a 23-20 decision. Burrow didn't have a great game. Mahomes was hobbling all over, but was making the key plays the key passes when he had to. And yeah. And how about Valdez-Scantling? 6 catches, 116 yards, and a big catch in the end zone for a touchdown. The Chiefs get by the Bengals. I was expecting more from Cincinnati. The game played out really well, except the referees should not have this much role in a game, especially in a championship game. And I'm not saying anything about the final the final play. That's just stupidity on the Bengals linebackers' part. But, there were other calls, plays there. There was a block in the back. There was a holding call on that last play. A lot of things that didn't get tossed. And I cannot tell you, Mike, how many times I saw, people yelling about a fix since wanting the Kansas City to get back to the Super Bowl based on what Ron Torbert and his staff did yesterday refereeing that game.
It wasn't just the block in the back that lost Cincy that game. It was a culmination of things. The interceptions by Joe Burrow did not help at all during costly times. Just certain things in that game was like, what the hell are you doing? Zach Taylor especially. They had some big plays, the 3rd and 19 or whatever it was, and they got a first down out of. I mean, come on, let's go here. I mean, both these teams have been here before. They know what it takes to get there. Yeah. And you got to play hard-nosed football. You can't play stupid football. And it's exactly or undisciplined football. And that's exactly what Cincinnati did. And I was pulling for Cincinnati. And they played undisciplined football. Joe Burrow, as much as I love him, as much as he's slowly starting to become my favorite quarterback in today's NFL, he made some risky decisions yesterday. And those decisions paid off in interceptions.
Yeah.
For the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, he had the one that later in the game that was tipped and then caught by Kansas City. He had another interception earlier. He did have that big pass to Chase. Jamar Chase down to the 6. Big play there. But the interception on the tip was huge. The touchdown to T. Higgins. I mean, T. Higgins.
It was great.
They had talked to T. Higgins about a week or so ago about 50-50 balls. He goes, listen, when those are thrown to me, they're not 50-50. They're 80-20, my favor. He goes, I'm going to go up and get them. And that's a wonderful thing. I heard Tom Waddle talking about it today on ESPN. He says that's the kind of receiver you want, a guy that goes up and gets them. Something that Allen Robinson never did when he was here with the Bears. People used to think Allen Robinson was good at 50-50 balls. He sucked. He was terrible.
Well, T. Higgins also has the size.
I know he does. He does. He was double teamed on that one for the touchdown, but that was nice to see. Burrow for the game, 26 for 41, 270, a touchdown and 2 picks. Mahomes, 29 for 43, 326, and 2 touchdowns. I'm sorry, 2 touchdowns in that game. But the Sky Moore big punt return at the end of the game with 43 seconds, that was massive in that contest. It sets up Kansas City to get that final field goal.
And the last thing is that the linebacker making the dumb play as Mahomes is out of bounds at that point. I mean, that just puts him 15 yards further. Like, what are you doing? It was just undisciplined, stupid football at that point.
Well, and he did play a good game. The rest of the game, they were just talking about him moments before that, how well he had played. And then the thing that got me after the game, everybody on social media and everything else, we're really such a weak, and I'm trying to be very nice here. We're such a weak society now. Everyone's saying, oh, I feel so bad for Osai. Oh, for what he did.
No.
I feel awful. Joseph Osai, he played well, and he hits I feel bad. You know what? You can't feel bad. That's his job. He failed at his job. That's what he gets paid to do. And he cost the Bengals. He didn't cost them the game because, but what he did do is he cost them a chance of still playing in that game. Because there's no way they would have been able to kick they probably wouldn't even have tried the 63-yarder. They might have tried a Hail Mary or something like that because Butker had been struggling. As it turns out, he kicks the game-winning field goal. They win 23-20. But you can't, they say, well, I was just in a charge mode and I was an attack mode and I got to learn to slow. You play this game for your whole life. I mean, you can't touch a quarterback out of bounds. I mean, I don't know what his problem was. And if you saw the replay, there's a guy on Cincinnati trying to get him to slow down because he knew he was headed for Mahomes. And unfortunately, he didn't get there in time. So that's just a horse crap way to end a game. Okay?
Well, and that being said, though, too, I can see where you could pin it on the refs because Joe Mixon got lit up, and he was a good 3 yards, out of bounds, and he got lit up, and there was no call on that. I get it. These refs are going to miss things. All right, I understand it. It's human error, and that's one thing that makes or breaks a team. That's one reason why I love baseball because there's still human error involved in the game.
Yeah.
and it sucks. It sucks, but it is. I mean, it's one of those things where it's, oh, I missed that strike on the outside. I'll give you the breaking ball, 6 inches off the plate. That type of thing. I like that rule.
Yeah, I don't. We could debate that forever because I like a strike's a strike, a ball's a ball. It gets into the pitcher's head. Ronaldo Lopez used to be really bad at that when he pitched for the White Sox a few years back. He was real bad at that, where if he had a 2-1 count, he throws a strike and he gets called a ball, he'd lose it. He'd walk the guy, give up a hit because of the one bad umpire call. But the other thing is, they were showing videos on a lot of people who were putting it up on social media. Burrow got a late hit. He got hit by Clark. Frank Clark, I want to say it was. He got hit late, and Burrow's looking at the referees going, what's going on? Why do I not get those calls? Mahomes gets those kind of calls, and that's brutal. But some people are saying that referee's not supposed to decide the game. No, referee had to make that call. Again, Waddle brought up a great point. If the referee doesn't make that late hit out of bounds call, then it looks like they're fixing the game. Okay, right. That's a call that had to be made. You can't ignore something like that.
My thing is this though, Fred. If you're gonna call it tight for both sides.
Yeah, I agree.
If your if that's the rule now, where it's if your quarterback gets touched after he releases the ball and it's an automatic penalty, which is, I mean, come on, let's not kid ourselves here. It's exactly what the game has become. Yeah. All right. It's literally that type of game where if you breathe on the quarterback after he releases the ball, it's a penalty. You better be willing to call it for both sides.
Yep. No, I agree.
You can't just call it one way or the other, whether or not there's a superstar on that end or not. Because if it's Patrick Mahomes, say it's Patrick Mahomes this weekend against, let's say, pick a random AFC quarterback, pick Zach Wilson. Pick somebody of that nature. Pick somebody of that stature, or Justin, the kid out there out in San Diego.
Justin Herbert, yeah.
Justin Herbert. Okay, you have to call it both sides. If you breathe on this guy, it has to be a penalty both ways. Yeah. You can't just relay that penalty towards the superstar of the NFL right now. You can't.
No,
it has to be even keeled on both sides.
Yeah, absolutely can't. You can't do that. They didn't run the ball as much as I thought. They didn't have as much success. And you pointed it out. Joe Mixon didn't have all that much success this year. He had 8 rushes for 19 yards. Nobody ran the ball much. Pacheco was 10 for 26. McKinnon 4 for a yard. Pirine was 5 for 22. Burrow ran 4 for 30. But he also grounded a couple balls really early, instead of trying to scramble and get away from people, which surprised me a couple times. There was also the one play where they ran the play, the Bengals stop them, and then they blow the whistle saying that that play was blown dead, and they had to replay it. And everybody was upset. They're all talking about that today. No one's talking about the fact that on that play, Cincinnati sacked Patrick Mahomes, and they actually did a better job of it. So I know that should never happen. And we talked about this a year ago, I want to say, because the Sky Judge is something that I think the NFL is slowly but surely working with, because they review calls a lot of times before it becomes official. Like they did a couple times yesterday. They said, after further review, we've got this. But they've got to have a guy upstairs like you, like me, somebody upstairs that's watching the action. And when they see something's called wrong, they have to be able to buzz down and tell the referee and correct it. Not have the referee run over to the sideline and look at a stupid screen and all these different angles. Forget it. The guy upstairs has to be the boss. He has to say, you missed the call. The call was wrong. Correct it and let's go. And I would hope that all sports would do that. I've been on this bandwagon for 6 or 7 years. And the XFL or the the XFL used it a few years back, and I thought it worked really, really well. One thing back to the earlier game, the one thing I forgot to point out, me and my brother Barry are sitting on the couch watching the game. The game's underway. Philadelphia's got the ball. On a 4th down, they throw the ball down deep down the sideline to Devontae Smith, and he makes a tremendous catch, but he didn't catch it. And he's running real quickly, and he's pounding his fists together. And the 3 of us all said, review it. You got to review that call. It looks like he could have dropped it. Shanahan doesn't review it. It turns out it was a bad call. He did bobble the ball. It should have been an incomplete pass on a 4th down, which would have given the Niners the ball. Instead, Sanders scores the first of his 2 touchdowns right after that. And that was a brutal play because they've got to have guys up in the booth for every team has video review guys that are watching for this, and they buzz down to the head coach. Maybe it was so early in the game they didn't even think about it, but that's a big miss. And it's another thing.
Ensuing on that drive, the Eagles score a touchdown. Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's like you gotta be able to review that. I get it. I mean, I don't want to be that guy where it's like every scoring drive there needs to be a review. But it's almost to that point now where it's like every scoring drive there needs to be a review.
But see,
especially when they're so close in contact, whether it be running the ball in, passing the ball in, make sure you have 2 feet down, make sure you have control of the ball. It's not like hockey where you see the puck at the back of the net. It's not like basketball where you see the ball go into a hoop. It's not like baseball where you see the ball go over the fence. It's a completely different story at this point. Everything's so jam-packed, so tight together, so knocked in. There needs to be an all-out be-all, an all-out be-end, in New York or somewhere.
And that's why I think the guys at the game, because that's where the sky judge would get it. Because the catch would be made, the sky judge would say, replay all your cameras, let me see it. Before they even got to the huddle, he'd be able to say, you got to check that. And it shouldn't have to be left up to a review by the other team. A play should be called right. That's why I like instant replay. You figure things get done right, and it shouldn't take as much time. If we can call it, if the three of us, 3 goofs sitting on a couch watching a game in Lockport in a basement, can call and know that the guy might have bobbled the ball, someone's got to be able to. And the guys didn't mention it on the broadcast either. They were saying, well, how would you review that? He was clearly in bounds. Well, of course he was in bounds. That's the only thing.
He was in bounds, but he didn't have control of the ball.
It's the only bad call. The only bad thing I thought Greg Olsen said all game long yesterday. I thought otherwise Olsen's really good. Every game Tony Romo does is another game where you say, why is he doing this? Why is he broadcasting? He's making the money. CBS decided to have him. He's just not very good. And, it's a shame. And a lot of times when the games are on, I don't listen to the sound. Or if I'm watching 2 games, I won't have to hear these guys. But when it gets to the playoffs, you hear them. And then you go, man, oh, man, are they not good? But Greg Olsen's wonderful. I think he does very, very well. That was the only thing I think that he really screwed up on. But his describing some plays and describing things and line blocking, I thought was wonderful yesterday in a big game. In a championship game.
I like Greg Olsen.
Yeah,
I like Greg Olsen. I think the worst call. I think the worst tandem ever to be when it comes time to. You're a good guy. I'll vouch for you. You're a good guy. But if it ever goes sideways, your time in a bad place is going to be Jason Benetti and Tony Romo calling the game. And you're going to be miserable the rest of the time.
Yeah, but Benetti and Stone got their deals, so they'll be around for a few more years. So that means I listen to Len Casper and Darren Jackson on ESPN 1000. Or not listen at all. I've watched enough baseball that I don't really need to hear the broadcasters. Okay. Anybody that's watched the game as long as we have, we don't need to hear the broadcasters with all their spiel. Yeah. You put enough stuff on the screen that you know what's going on. You will follow the game and you understand it. One thing we forgot to mention too in the first game, Philadelphia's defense has been pretty darn amazing. And they've been getting to the quarterback. This year.
I said that. I mentioned that earlier. Yeah.
This year, counting the playoffs, they have 78 sacks.
Yeah.
They are 5 sacks away from the all-time record of sacks in a season and playoffs. You know who holds that record?
The Bears.
Which year?
I'm going to say 88.
84.
Oh, okay.
Before they made it to the Super Bowl, when they lost to the Niners in the championship game, they had 82 sacks for the season. In 85, the Bears had 80 sacks. And right now, going into the Super Bowl, the Eagles have 78 sacks. And
they also had an extra game, so they still suck.
I got to tell you, I agree with you. That's one thing that nobody brought up on it wasn't like an asterisk or anything. But I'm already looking forward to seeing Hassan Reddick going after Mahomes and Chris Jones and Chris Jones going after
Hurts.
Yeah. That's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun watching these guys go at each other.
It is.
Let's do one more thing, and then I'll do beer stuff at the end, so you can relax after your hard day of work. Me, I'm just sitting on a couch all day long. The Golden Jet passed away today, Bobby Hull. And
Bobby Hull.
He is one of the greatest players to ever play the game of hockey. And I'm looking at some of the stuff online today. Excuse me. And Mark Potash from the Sun-Times posted something about an hour ago. And it's the cover of the back page of the Chicago Sun-Times sports section that says, Hull gets 58th, Hawks glide 7-5. Now, that's the third time that he had set the NHL single-season scoring record. He had 50 goals in 61-62. He broke it with 54 in 65-66. And then he had 58 in 68 and 69. There was a stretch of 7 of 10 years he led the NHL in goals. This guy was amazing. And people don't realize now, I mean, the young people or a lot of people out there don't realize that Blackhawk home games weren't on TV. You had to go to the game or listen to it on radio. And listening to it on radio was great because Lloyd Pettit, you got to hear Lloyd Pettit do them. And on the Sundays, you'd hear Lloyd Pettit or you hear Jim West or somebody, and they'd be doing a game from Philadelphia on a Saturday at 6 or whatever. But there was nothing more exciting than the Blackhawks on a power play and Bobby Hull getting the puck, coming behind the net to get the puck and start a rush up ice. It was one of the most exciting things in hockey. And the stadium would go nuts. It was a stretch there where you couldn't buy a ticket for the Blackhawks. They were constantly sold out in the 60s, the late 50s, early 60s, completely sold out. You couldn't get into that building if you didn't have a ticket ahead of time. And Bobby Hull was an amazing player. Now, granted, he had a couple of domestic violence problems with apparently 2 of his 3 wives, okay, which nowadays – it's always a big deal, but nowadays takes more of center stage because of the era we're in, because of more people realizing what has been happening and stuff like that. In the game yesterday, there was a guy from the Niners, O'Menahue, who last week had domestic abuse charges because he apparently pushed down his wife. I don't know what happened, but he was on the field yesterday for the Niners, so he played. We didn't hear any more about that. But Bobby Hull, without a doubt, growing up, he was the man. He was the guy you want to watch on a Saturday night on TV. He was the guy that you talked about. He was, I heard someone say it earlier today. Actually, I heard Rocky Wirtz say it today. In the era of Bobby Hull, he was as big as Michael Jordan in that time.
Yeah.
He was the star. When he went elsewhere, people wanted to come to a stadium in Philadelphia or, one of the original 6. They wanted to go see a Bobby Hull play. And right. I had a chance to meet him a few times. He was fun. He was funny. He had some of the best stories you'd ever hear. Most of them you couldn't tell, in a mixed company. Just a wonderful guy. I saw someone earlier today say that he had some domestic violence charges. He had some problems when he was younger, but he's basically did his time for those. And I know there's other people that will never forgive him for that. But, he passed away today. It's a sad thing. It's all over the news. Heck, they even ran it on the network news talking about after they mentioned Cindy Williams passed away, Bobby Hull was third. You know who else passed away today? The girl that played Wednesday in the original Addams Family.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's a triple.
She topped Bobby Hull.
It was Cindy Williams, then her, and then Bobby Hull was third. So yeah,
that's a bad trifecta, but okay.
It is. But they say they come in 3, so I guess there'll be no death for a while now of stars. Right. So, but you probably anything you learned about Bobby Hull, you probably learned from watching on. Well, you would have had to learn from watching on YouTube videos or hearing from your dad.
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of it was my dad. I mean, like him and the Yvonne Cournoyer fight where Yvonne Cournoyer busted his fucking face wide open. That's cool as shit. I mean, I have that picture in my office actually buried in there somewhere.
Sure.
Where Bobby Hull's face is split open and he's sitting there smiling, yelling at Yvonne Cournoyer from the Montreal Canadiens. You know what I mean? Like those are things that, but even growing up playing hockey out in Orland Park, I remember the very first time I met Bobby Hall, I was 9 years old. And I shook hands with Bobby Hall. It was like shaking hands with a catcher's mitt.
Yeah.
Like his hand came all the way up my forearm. At 9 years old, I was like, this guy's hands, he's got meat hooks. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And he was always really nice. Every time I met him, he was always really nice to me. There was times that we had drinks with, my family would have drinks with him and Dennis Savard, and he was always really nice. Always really nice. Never on a first name basis. Never.
No.
On a first name basis, but he would always remember me in a way.
Yeah.
Because I would sit there, I you know me, Fred. I'm full of dick and fart jokes. That's all I got.
Yes, you are.
And I've been the same way since I've been 14 years old. So he'd be like, I remember you, but he'd never remember my name.
Right.
But he was always a really cool guy. Bobby Hall, I mean, in my eyes, he's one of the greats here in Chicago. If you ask me on Mount Rushmore, I know that's one of the things, Mount Rushmore, Chicago, but I think Bobby Hall is on that. I truly do. I mean, it's one of those things where Bobby, I watched the highlights of him growing up. I mean, I watched him play. I watched those 50-goal seasons and how hard his slap shot was from the blue line, and he was fantastic. He was awesome, and it's sad. It sucks that he passed away today. He was one of those guys that I will I mean, I'll forever cherish that I met, that I've shaken hands with, that he was cool enough to talk to some punk ass kid at 9 through 15, 18, 20 years old.
Right. Right.
Telling dick and fart jokes. So Bobby Hall, I mean, he was a stand-up dude in my opinion.
Yeah, 84 years old, passed away earlier today. His brother Dennis was on the team back in the day. I used to love watching the Blackhawks. I was a big Blackhawks fan back in the day. And, he was one of the greats. And you're right, the Mount Rushmores, Taves and Kane don't come close.
No.
And I know,
not even fucking close.
I know winning 3 and 6 is one thing, but you can't. It's not the same.
Yeah,
it's not
even
same.
close.
No,
not even close.
I
mean, Bobby Hall. I remember one time when I was a kid, when I was playing puck. I'm not gonna name the group that I was a part of when I was a kid, but he was on the ice with us, Bobby Hall.
Yeah,
he's out there. I mean, he's an old man, Fred. Old man. All right, he goes out. This is fucking. I'm 10 years old, so this is 25 years ago.
Yeah, so he would be
okay. So he's probably
59.
He 84 today, passed away.
He'd been 59.
59 years old, and he is rifling slap shots at the net on skates with a stick, and it blew. It sounded like Tiger Woods teeing off.
Yeah,
I mean, it sounded like a shotgun. It was like whack. It was like whoa. It sounded like somebody was hitting a baseball with a bat. It was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
You got to be kidding me.
Now, I don't know.
It's like, pass me a puck. Let me one time this one. I'm 10 years old.
Yeah.
We all give Bobby Hall a pass to one time a puck at the net. It was like, good Lord, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, great memories there. He's got to be one of the reasons. I don't know. Jacques Plante, I want to say, was the first guy to wear a mask in the NHL. Yep. I got a feeling that some of the reason was the slap shot of Bobby Hall.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, that's probably one of the big reasons. I
have
to go back
Howard
and do
Chuck.
some homework. Yeah, yeah. So I have to go back and do some homework on that. But Bobby Hall passes away, and there'll be a lot more tomorrow in the papers and online. You can find a lot of stuff about Bobby Hall and what he did for the Chicago Blackhawks. He was one of their ambassadors for a while, and then they finally let him go after all that other stuff that went on with the Blackhawks a couple of years ago, with the Kyle Beach stuff and things like that. And so they let him go. So, Mike, I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to come and we'll hear from more sponsors, come back and do a quick little beer thing, and then get out of here until next week.
Sounds great, man. Freddie, thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
So, I finished up your meatballs for dinner tonight.
There you go. Good.
I'll return your crock pot in the near future.
Sounds good, man.
Okay, back with some beer stuff after this.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Darren, licensed real estate broker with Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group in Homer Glen. Are you looking to buy or sell? Have you been disappointed in the past? The Jonathan Darren team with Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group focuses on providing you with a concierge level of service during the process of buying or selling. We are a service-oriented team with a fresh and professional approach to selling real estate. Our goal is to combine knowledge, skills, and passion to exceed our clients' expectations, and most of all, we truly care. We are a knowledgeable real estate team focused on offering expertise and innovative solutions for our clients. The Jonathan Darren team has 5 full-service real estate brokers and a dedicated full-time marketer servicing all of Chicagoland. We will customize a detailed plan around your timeline for a sale, purchase, investment, estate, or other needs. Real estate transactions can be stressful, but don't need to be. Let us handle it for you. Visit our website, homesbyjdt.com, or call 708-308-1938 today. Expect better in real estate. Choose the Jonathan Darren team.
Hi, this is Kathy O'Connell at Coach's Corner, located at 8118 West 143rd Street in Orland Park. Our phone number is 708-364-1026. We are Orland Park's #1 sports bar. Come in for our wonderful beer menu and seltzers with a fully stocked bar. Watch a game, drink a beer, and try something off our amazing menu. We have everything to choose from: nachos, potato skins, and our house-made bar chips to start off with. Then try our tacos, burgers, and one of our delicious sandwiches. And don't leave without trying our famous jumbo wings. They do not disappoint. Coach's Corner. It will sure to become your local bar. Again, we are located at 8118 West 143rd Street in Orland Park. Come see us today.
Megaplex Sports Complex is a 78,000 square foot center filled with hardwood and turf. They have baseball rentals with batting cages, softball, soccer, lacrosse, gymnastics, cheerleading, cornhole, basketball, volleyball, and pickleball. It also features a bar and grill with the best pizza and beef sandwiches around. They cater to events such as birthdays, graduations, corporate parties, as well as memorabilia shows. Check them out at Megaplex Sports Complex, 15301 South Bell Road in Homer Glen, 708-966-4210. Welcome back on Huebs, Views, and Brews. As I mentioned, I'm drinking one of the Nick and Ivy 1853s after I finished the Manna Skull from Noon Whistle. Really good Imperial Stout with coconut and vanilla. Tastes great. 10.2 alcohol by volume. Had a 12-ounce can of that. Opening up an 1853. And again, you don't have to worry about me. I'm not going anywhere. I'm sitting at home. I got the bookcase behind me, trying to make it look like all those guys on TV. I even got headphones on today, making it look a little more official. Speaking of Nick and Ivy, I stopped there on Friday. They have a new beer called Born and Raised. It's a pale ale with hops, born and raised in Lockport, and very, very tasty beer. Get a chance to stop on by and have it. A bunch of people were there on Friday night. I stopped there before I ordered a pizza from Manja Pizza, and great place, great pizza. Had a wonderful time. One of the better pizzas I've had, probably the best pizza I've had here in Lockport. So you might want to check it out if you're in the area, Manja Pizza, and try their beef roll. Beef roll, I think it's called the beef roll. I always get it wrong. I know I eat it very quickly, so it's very tasty. The Westmont Winter Beer Fest is quickly approaching. Saturday, April 18th. All the VIP tickets are sold out already. You can still get a regular ticket for the event. It's $50. I've got mine. I didn't get a VIP. I don't need to drink for an extra hour or get a 16-ounce glass. That's what you get for the VIP. You get an hour early entrance, and you also get a 16-ounce glass. I don't want some of those beers in a 16-ounce glass. I'm telling you, I want the small glass. That's why I just paid the $50. It's going to be a great time. I've been there before. They do a great job. Dustin Cleefish from the Westmont Park District puts it on. A lot of great breweries. Check out Westmont Winter Beer Fest. I know a lot of the local breweries are going to be there. Skeleton Key Brewing, then even city breweries. Dovetail will be there. There'll be a lot of the great breweries will be there. So I have a great time each and every year. My neighbor Jason from Downers Grove, he was there last year with me and his brother-in-law. We had a great, wonderful time. It's always cold, middle of February, and but it's fun. Great tents, heated tents, food trucks. Cannot wait. February 18th is a Saturday. It's going to be a good time. Skeleton Key, as I mentioned, Skeleton Key, they have a collaboration beer going on right now with Phase 3. It's called Winter's Bone. It's a winter ale, so check that out. I have not been to Skeleton Key for a couple weeks. We have to get to that. Noon Whistle, where I was at the other day, they had celebrated their 8th anniversary. I went to Lombard. Naperville was also enjoying the celebration. They had a full house in Lombard on Saturday afternoon. I saw my guy, Chet Brett, the big man, hung with him, had some drinks. It was a fun time. The Open Bottle in Tinley Park, Patrick Bish and his wife, they started the one in Tinley Park. They also have the one down here in Lockport, which is about 2 miles from me. I can get there very quickly, and I've been there a couple times. Very, very nice place. They celebrated their 8th anniversary this past weekend in Tinley Park, and they had some special beers for that. And one more, Metal Monkey in Romeoville. Again, not very far from me, probably about 5 miles from here, if that. They celebrated their 7th anniversary just the other day. Really cool place. Metal Monkey, a lot of loud music, a lot of heavy music, and some really, really good beer. So you get a chance, head on over to Metal Monkey. I know that Scott Childers was there over the weekend. Scott Childers, you've heard him on radio, on the river, on JOL, all over the place. Over the many, many years he's been in broadcasting. A big beer guy. He and his wife, Karen, they're always out drinking beers. I run into them quite often. So check it out and get on out there. So I'm going to drink this 1853. I'm still drowning in my sorrows after my Niners went down another year, not going to the Super Bowl. It'll be the Chiefs taking on the Eagles. I'm taking the Chiefs. I think early on, I think the Chiefs were getting points. Or whatever it is, I'd take Kansas City because I think Kansas City will go and win another one for Andy Reid. I don't think Philadelphia can stop the some of the weapons that Philadelphia has. Now, some of the weapons that the Chiefs have. And I think the Chiefs defense is coming around, playing a little bit better. Some young guys in that secondary, and they stepped up, I think, yesterday against Joe Burrow and Cincinnati. So thanks for listening. We'll be back next week. Next week, I'm going to try and get some more beer stuff because we've talked a lot of sports, and there's no football game next week. And don't tell me the Pro Bowl is a football game. It's a flag football game. So we'll talk some other stuff next Monday night. Hope to have a show on next Monday, maybe getting a little more into the beer and some of the other beer happenings coming up in the near future. Then we'll have another one the day after the Super Bowl. That'll be fun. We'll be breaking down the commercials, breaking down what happened. And again, hopefully it'll be Kansas City getting the victory, but who knows? We'll wait and see. So until then, thanks a lot, as always, to Fat Mike for joining me. Don't forget the One-Timer Hockey Show later on this week. I'm sure we'll have a lot more with about the passing of Bobby Hull. Also, Mike's show coming up later on this week. And Harry, we'll see what Harry's early predictions are for the Super Bowl. We'll hear from them later on in the week. Just keep an eye on the social media. You can always find us in the past shows on our Facebook channel. You can always find us on YouTube, Spotify, Twitch. We're all over the place and enjoying it. 1252 Sports, Fred Huebner with you. Have a great evening.
Thank you for listening to 1252 Sports Chicago.